It's new video time once again for Marvel's Midnight Suns, and we're back with video number 6 in this series where we look at everything we know so far for the various different characters that are available. Now, the information in this video comes from a Spotlight series that's been done by Christopher Odd. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below, and also the official wiki for the game, which is a pretty awesome resource as well. Once again, there will be a link to that in the description below. But today, for video number 6 of this series, we'll be checking out the one who's the best at what he does, and what he does is absolutely demolishing everything. By the looks of it, it is the one and only Wolverine. So we'll start off. I'll give you a quick overview of his playstyle. We'll then check out the passive that will be available for him, and then we'll check out the cards, which are essentially the skills for the character. And we actually have the tooltips for 12 different cards in total, which is pretty great. But let's dive in. Let's start breaking this down. Playstyle wise then, he looks to be a hybrid tank brawler style hero, which is what you would expect for Wolverine. Within his kit he has access to taunt, counters, a ton of lifesteal and also health regen. Damage wise, potentially it looks like he could have incredible single target damage, maybe even up there with Captain Marvel, who we looked at in the last video. She was absolutely insane, some of the combinations she can do. If you've not seen that video, do check that out. But that is a quick overview of how he'll play. Let's go in and let's look at his passive now. Each of the different heroes that will be available in the game then will have access to their own passive. Now, you can upgrade this via talking to the hero in question via the Abbey, which is the hub which is available in the game in between missions. For Wolverine, the passive we have here is called Healing Factor. This is tier 2, and I believe there's 3 tiers in total. With this one, it leans into the survivability it has. So when a Wolverine card is redrawn, you can do up to 2 redraws as standard per turn. You'll recover health, so that's going to be really useful for getting out a fix if his health is on the lower side. But that's a passive. Let's start breaking down the cards now. So in total we have 12 different cards to look at. They're broken into 3 different tiers. You've got skill, attack and then heroic cards. So we'll actually look at the skill cards first. The first one we have here is Rapid Healing. This is the tier 2 upgraded version in this card. So when you use this, in this instance you're restoring 149 health to Wolverine. You're also curing him, so that gets rid of negative status effects on him, and this is playable when Wolverine is unable to act. So if he's stunned, if he's down for example, you can still play this card, so this is going to be really useful, this one. The next skill based card we have here is Berserk. Once again, it's a tier 2 version of the card. So with this one, when you use it, you'll draw 3 Wolverine cards, and then Wolverine cards gain lifesteal until the end of the turn. So you'll get additional cards for them, and if you use the cards you'll be getting a heap of health back, which is going to be really useful from a tanking perspective. If he's taunting and he's taking a lot of damage, you can use this to get a whole lot of health back. We finish up the skill based cards here with a pretty amazing one. So this is a tier 2 version of this card. It's called Stink of Fear. The animation for it looks pretty great, but with this particular card, you taunt each enemy in an area, you gain 1 counter and you apply 1 weak. Now the reason this is pretty amazing is because what counter and weak does. Counter means for the entire enemy's turn, every time they hit you for that full turn, you actually counter them back. So if you've got 5 different enemies that you taunt, for example, and 5 different enemies that actually hit you, you'll counter and you'll hit all of them back, potentially taking them out. On top of that as well, you're applying weak to each of the different enemies you taunt, which means they'll do 50% less damage to you. So this card is just absolutely bonkers. Now let's have a look at the attack style cards. So we have 4 different attack cards that we'll check out here. They are on the simple side. Your more elaborate cards are generally your skill and your heroic cards. So this one here is Quick Swipe tier 2. You can see the damage it will be doing up the top left of the card. In this instance, 44 damage. That will differ based on the level of your character. In regards to what it's doing, you've got taunt on this, you've got quick, that means if you defeat the enemy you actually use this card on, you get the card replay back, so essentially be it a free card, and then it's got lifesteal as well, so the amount of damage you do, you'll be getting back for your hero as well. This next card we have here is an old tooltip for it, so apologies for the quality of the image here, but this one is called Power Slash, just the tier 1 version of the card that has knockback, so you can knock an enemy back. It does what it says in the tin, and it applies 1 vulnerable. Vulnerable means that an enemy for follow-up attacks for that round will take an additional 50% damage. We have another old looking card here. This one is Chain Swipe, so with this particular one you'll be taunting enemies and you'll chain to up to 3 different enemies as well, so bear in mind that each of the enemies you'll be chaining to, you will also be taunting them. The final attack card we'll look at here is one that's actually got a new mechanic we've not seen yet in any of the previous videos for the game. So the card in question is Lethal Pounce, tier 2. You're doing your normal attack with this. You'll chain up to 2 enemies. Now it says full combo. Now what that actually means is rather than chaining to multiple different enemies, if you decide to use all your chains on one particular target, then you'll gain the bonus that you can see on screen. So in this instance it would be strengthened, which would mean that Wolverine would get an additional 50% damage for the further cards he plays within that turn. So that's all the attack cards. Let's check out the heroic cards, and this is where you normally have some pretty special things going on here. When it comes to your heroic cards, then you have to build up heroic energy. You can do this by playing regular cards. That will fill up a meter that goes up to 10 heroic energy in total, and then that allows you to play your heroic cards. The first one we have here, it would cost 2 heroic energy. You can see that up the top left of the card. It's called Eviscerate. So when you're using this, you're chaining up to 4 targets, which is a decent amount. You're taunting those 4 targets, and you're applying lifesteal as well. So you could use this to get an absolute ton of health back. So the next card we have here is one that could be incredibly useful depending on the defensive mechanic the enemy or the boss you're going up against actually has. So the card is called Pierce and Slash. This is the tier 2 version of it. You'll see it costs 1 heroic energy. It does 44 damage. When you use this particular card, if the target has blocks, so once again you may have certain bosses that it's more difficult to take them down due to the fact they've got block as a mechanic, but if you use this and if the target has block, in this instance you're doing 66 damage, so that's over 100% over the actual base of the damage in this particular skill. So I imagine there's probably going to be certain levels or certain bosses where you go up against something or someone that's got a huge amount of block, and this card is really going to come in clutch. This next card that we have here is one that we've not actually seen this style of card on any other heroes, but it makes sense for Wolverine. So it's 2 heroic energy. It's called Rapid Regeneration. So when Wolverine is downed, you can play this card and you'll revive with 50% health, and it doesn't cost a card draw either. It does cost you 2 heroic energy, so you need to make sure you have that. It also doesn't state it on the card. It probably will once the game comes out, but it should say exhaust on it as well, and what that actually means is you can only use that card once per that entire battle. But this is still pretty awesome, and I really like the flavour of it, and that it's incredibly hard to keep Wolverine down. So we finish up here with the special Midnight Suns legendary card. This is unlocked when you max out the relationship for a particular character. This card looks absolutely bonkers, and it's the one that I think could be up there for the single target damage you can do with this, alongside the Captain Marvel card we looked at in the last video. Once again, if you've not seen that video, check it out, because the damage that she looks to be able to do, it looks absolutely amazing. But this particular card here, it's called Midnight Special. This is a tier 2 version in this card. You can see the base damage it's doing is 20 damage. So with this card you consume all heroism, and that can go up to 10 to damage random enemies. In this instance it would be 10 times if you had 10 heroic energy. The damage increases by 10 with each attack, so on the final attack you would be doing 130 something like that damage. That is your base damage plus the increased damage as well. If you're using this once you've downed all the minions on a stage and you've just got the boss left, you'll be doing all 10 attacks on them and they'll all be stacking. So yeah, this card is going to be absolutely bonkers, and I think it's going to be a competition between this card on Wolverine and the card we looked at previously on Captain Marvel to see which is going to be your boss killer card. It's really hard to say at this point. But that's everything we know so far for Wolverine. As mentioned earlier on in the video, this is the 6th video we've done in this series, so if you found this video helpful, if you've enjoyed it, feel free to check out the other ones in the playlist as well. And let me know what you think about Wolverine in the comments below, and thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.